Hello. In this video, we'll be looking at how to set up and get the most out of your compound microscope. Compound microscopes are those instruments on which you will need to mount your specimen on a glass slide. This is to compare them to a stereo microscope, which has a much greater working distance, with the object being further from the lenses. Also, stereo microscopes have a much lower range of magnification. The main components of your combined microscope are the two eyepieces through which you look upon your specimen, a turret that can be rotated on which there are a number of objectives of different magnifications, a stage on which your slide is placed and held securely by a caliper mechanism, a coarse and fine focus dial near the rear, a condenser which must be set up carefully for the best illumination, a lamp, which is the source of light coming from underneath the stage. When you're first presented with your microscope, make sure that it's plugged in and that there is power going to the instrument. There is a rocker switch on the back right-hand side of the microscope, so turn it on. And then there's an orange dimmer switch on the side which you can turn down low so that you don't blind yourself when you look down the eyepieces. You will also notice that you can alter the distance between the two eyepieces, and you should set that up to suit your own face. To set the focus on the microscope properly, you will need a prepared slide and look at it under the ×10 magnification. Once you have a clear image of your specimen, close one eye and focus the microscope. Then close the other eye. If there is slight blurring through that eye, adjust the focusing eyepiece using the knurled ring on the eyepiece itself. The objectives come in different varieties, and your microscope has the red ×4, the yellow ×10, the blue ×40, and the white ×100. The ×100 lens requires you to put a drop of oil onto the top of the cover slip on the slide. It will not work well without the oil. On the other hand, you need to avoid getting oil on the other objectives, particularly the ×40, which can be dragged through the oil if you've been using the ×100 very easily. Your microscope has two iris diaphragms. One is placed on top of the lamp housing, which can be rotated with this knurled ring around the outside of the lamp, and the other is built into the condenser. It is operated by a lever underneath it, which will open and close the diaphragm. It is fully open when the lever is on the left and fully closed when the lever is on the right. Closing the diaphragm will normally increase the contrast of the specimen that you are looking at. If you look down the microscope and you don't see anything, check these in order to make sure that you've got the thing set up properly. First of all, that you have a light coming from the light housing. Second, that there is light coming onto the stage through the condenser. Thirdly, that your objective is clicked into place so that light can enter through it and therefore through the mechanism of the microscope to the eyepieces. You should see light coming through the eyepieces. At the front of the microscope condenser, just under the stage, is a large knurled wheel on the condenser, and as you turn it you can see there are different notifications on it. BF stands for bright field, and that is where you should be starting. But if you turn it, you'll see that it says 10, 40, and 100. These correspond to the magnifications of the objectives on which there is a mechanism called phase contrast. Phase contrast is a technique by which specimens that have no colour and are largely transparent, like your own cells from inside your cheek, can be made visible through the action of light passing through bodies of different refractive indices. There is also dark field, which is a specialist technique for looking at certain objects on a dark background as they scatter the light which is beamed onto them from the side. Once you have a clear image of your specimen, it is now time to adjust the condenser. Carefully close the diaphragm on top of the lamp housing while you're looking down the microscope, and you will see the aperture closing down until it is a small white circle. If you can't see a clear circle, it means that the condenser is not in focus properly. You can use this rack and pinion mechanism at the side to raise or lower the whole of the condenser until you see a clear view of the aperture on the lamp housing. The circle should be in the middle of your field of view. If it isn't, use these two screws on the side of the condenser to center it properly. Open up the diaphragm and it is ready to use. This is known as collaring the microscope, in commemoration of the man who worked the optics out, August Kohler. Now your microscope is finally ready for use and should give you many hours of trouble-free microscopy. When you master the way of setting up these microscopes, you will be able to transfer these skills onto any other compound microscope. Thank you for watching.